everybody. Hey, listen, we're back again. We're at part 2 of this, A Life Poured Out, Love, Loyalty, and Servanthood. So we're going to talk today about the loyalty part, the faithfulness, if you would, the faithfulness part of. And this, again, is the footprint of what Christ's life was and is for us through the Scriptures. That's our footprint. It's exactly how we should model ourselves through this. So we're going to talk about loyalty. So first of all, let me just read here. Loyalty is basically faithful, constant, and allegiance, stability, and devotion. Loyalty implies long, continued, and steadfast fidelity to whatever one is bound to by a pledge, a duty, and obligation. You're true to one's word, promise, and vows. So we've kind of laid that foundation out about loyalty. But it's faithfulness is basically what it is. To be loyal is to be faithful. And so we know the Bible is full of words of encouragement, of faithfulness. So we're going to work and we're going to talk a little bit about that area. So we know what it's like to be loyal, to be faithful. What about being unfaithful or not so loyal? Disloyal, being disloyal, or the betrayal. Wow, what a hurtful word that is. Betrayal, unfaithful, distrusting. These are all these words, when you hear these words, they're very degrading to the one that your vows or your promises and covenant is given to. It's disheartening and degrading to you or the person that is being unfaithful and distrusting and unloyal and all these other words, but it's very disheartening, discouraging, downtrodden, and degrading to the person who you have vowed your promise, your faithfulness, your loyalty to. So when you give that is like a covenant, a vow, a promise that is not supposed to be broken. And when those are broken, there's a wall, and it seems like an ever-ending gap that has been placed between you and the person who you have vowed this to. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. There in Matthew 25, we know the parable about the talents and how they've given the talents over, the 5 and the 2 and the 1, and how they've all used them, and were the one, he did not use them, and he buried it, and he wasn't very faithful at all. He just hid it away. But the others were very faithful in their ongoing of what Christ or what this man has given them. And that's what we're going to talk to in the faithfulness of this whole deal. And we're going to talk about the faithfulness. I'm not going to dwell on the unfaithfulness, but I want to show you the benefits of being faithful. And I may have known this before, but in this whole studying and preparing and all this, my mind was just blown away. And maybe it's just something that I needed to know. And maybe, as we all know, the Word is alive, so it changes and it comes alive to us in the time that we need. And this is what happens in Matthew 25, in the verse 21. Christ is commending those that have used their talents and in their vows and their promises and was faithful. Faithful. So it says here in verse 21, commending his servant, the master replied, You have done well. And this is the Passion Translation, if you want to know. You have done well and proven yourself to be my loyal and trustworthy servant. Because you have been a faithful steward to manage a small sum, now I will put you in charge of much, much more. You will experience the delight of your master, who will say to you, "Come celebrate with me." Wow. Hang on a second. My mind is just blown just reading all this. Two things that I really want to bring home right now in these next few minutes to you. Loyalty, faithfulness is the master key. Listen, we all have keys that open different doors. We have the key that opens the front door, the garage door, the side door, the car door, maybe a safe. You never know what it is, but there's separate keys. But there's what they call a master key. And what is that? You know what it is. That key unlocks all the doors, all the areas, all the places that you need to get into, all the things that need to be opened up unto you. Faithfulness is the master key. To what, Robin? And this is what I'm going to tell you. It's the master key to expansion. And you're like, oh, are you getting into this, kind of out there a little bit? No, the word, we just read it. The master key to expansion. If you want more of God, be faithful. It's the key. If you want more growth in your walk with God, be faithful. If you want more growth in your finances. Whoa, hold on, Robin. Hang on. What are you doing? What are you preaching, this prosperity thing? I'm telling you, be faithful. The Word has already told us, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter in, and I'm going to just multiply. So you want your finances. Are you hitting a rock bottom place? Are you hitting a wall? Be faithful. Man, maybe I'll get 2 cents for this. Are you faithful with your tithe? Are you faithful in giving to those that are in need? Are you faithful in using the finances in the stewardship that God has promised you and called you to be? Be faithful. So, and another thing, if you want the blessings of God poured upon your life, be faithful, etc. Whatever it is, whatever door that you are coming up to, and you need that key, you have it already. Christ is telling you, be faithful. Here's the master key, and unlock the doors that is already presented before you, that you have the key to unlock. Be faithful in all things. Be faithful in all ways, and unlock what God is giving to you. All right, the second part here is, we've been talking about being faithful. Loyalty, faithfulness makes you persist until it bears fruit. So be persistent. Be faithful until it bears fruit. Don't give up. You have the privilege, and I'm saying this, the privilege of asking God to invest into your life. You're a child of the King. You have that privilege to ask God, invest into my life. I will be faithful. Be faithful. So, second part of this, he says, well done, good and faithful servant. Enter thou into the joys of the Lord. He's telling you, you've been faithful. You've been faithful over all this. I want you to experience the fullness of God. Experience the fullness of God. Everything that God has for us is through the key of faithfulness. Unlocks all that. Good and faithful servant. Listen, there's a couple things here. Psalms 41:11, thou favorest me because mine enemy doth not triumph over me. The enemy has no ruling over you. You are going to be faithful, and God is opening the doors with the key, the master key of faithfulness. Psalms 5:12, for thou, Lord, will bless the righteous and will compass him as with a shield. God has got you covered. He's got you protected. Job 10:12, thou hast granted me life and favor, and thy visitation hath preserved my spirit. Listen, you need doors opened in your life. You need God to unfold things for you. You need the joys. God says, just be faithful. Use the master key. Open the doors that God has given to you and enjoy and just be a part of the fullness of God that He wants to give to you. All right, guys, listen, we're going to try to break it into a different part here, talking about that faithfulness. We're still continuing on with that faithfulness. And so remember that key, that master key for you. But today, this part of it, I want to take to you Ephesians chapter 5. And a lot of us, we already know where that goes to, talks about that husband and wife. But I still want to convey to you about that faithfulness, the commitment that you have one for another. And a lot of times we need this. Sometimes when we hear this part of it, we get a little defensive or whatever, but I'm hoping to not make you defensive about it, but just to see the reality of the faithfulness that we need to be with each other. So, Ephesians chapter 5, the key point here is submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God. And we know a lot of times we don't like that word submit. We feel like it means you're inferior, that you're having to give in, to be beat up and whatever, but that's not what it's about. It's not about being inferior, but it's about giving over and giving into the other person and sharing with what you have. Okay, so I want to read this. It says, wives, here we go. Submit to your husbands as unto the Lord. Husband is the head, as Christ is the head of the church and is Savior of the body. As church is to Christ, so then the wives to your husbands. It talks about wives submitting yourselves to a husband. It's not so much that you're just giving yourself, that you're going to be lower, because we know when God created us, wives, you were created to help me to be brought alongside. You're right here with us. You're not behind us. You're not below us. You're not somewhere, but you're right beside of us. You are a part. And so when we come together as one, as a husband and wife, Christ says, listen, I want to give you this example so you to understand exactly the roles that we must play. You have Christ and you have the church. Christ is that bridegroom that is coming back for the church. We as the church are to present ourselves spotless, blameless, because in the long run, He is coming for us. We are the bride. And so it says here, wives, submit yourselves to your husbands. So hang on with that a little bit. So us as the church, what is our goal to be for Christ, who is our husband, who is our bridegroom that is coming for us? It's for us to give everything that we are back to Him. He's coming for us. We are the bride. So for me to keep myself adorned pure and keep myself holy and keep myself to His understanding, to His loving power, to who He is, to who He wants me to be, I submit myself to His authority. I submit myself to His love, to His guidance, to His caring, for His love and compassion. I'm not submitting to be put down. I'm submitting for Him to give me and take care of me the best. So that's what it is. Wives, submit yourself to your husband, not for him to tear you down, not for him to be better than you, but for allowing him to give to you everything that he has in store for you. Just saying, yes, I submit to receive what you have from me. It says, husbands, you are the head of the wife as Christ is the head of the church. Christ is looking to bring the church to Himself. Husbands, you love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave Himself for it. Listen, I would give myself for my wife because I love her that much, and I want to give to her everything that I have possible within my reach and grasp, within my realm, is hers, is part of her. And so I give it to her. Husbands, you keep your wives, it says, clean, undefiled, lifted up, without blame. You defend her or any such thing, but that she should be holy, to be presented to Himself as a glorious wife. Christ is coming back after His church. And He says He's coming after a bride that is spotless, without blame. Somebody that He can keep and prepare to keep and make holy. Because here's what it is. He's bringing us to Himself. He's presenting us to Himself as the perfect bride. So what do, husbands? We protect our wives. We keep them clean and undefiled, not to be downtrodden, but to be lifted up, to be comforted. We're also to bring them without blame, to protect them and love them as Christ loves us, that I may bring my wife, present her to me as my wife, undefiled, clean, pure. Listen, I called it a spiritual eye candy because Christ, we know how it is. You hold your wife or your husband, and this is my eye candy. Christ is proud of us. Christ longs for us and loves us. So He's protecting us, and for us to be faithful and submit ourselves to Him. That's what it's all about. It's about giving ourselves back to Him so that He can bestow upon us. And listen, that's how it is, wives and husbands. Wives, submit yourself to your husband that he can bestow upon you everything that he has to give you. You're his eye candy. You are his wife that he wants to bring to himself because he loves you. Listen, men, love your wives as your own body. We don't hate our own body. Listen, I've been trying to, cut some weight off and stay in shape and do it. Why do I do this? I do this for myself because I love my body. But I love my wife as my body. So it says, no man hates his own body. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and join unto his wife to be as one. Me and my wife have a saying, and we always look at each other and say, we are one, because we are one. She is a part of me as much as I am a part of her. And we are both in Christ, making a joined union. So husbands, love your wives. Give her everything that you need to be. Be faithful. Give her what you have. Wives, Don't think it bad to be submitted to their husbands. Just submit and allow Him to give you what you deserve, everything that He has in His possession to make you His bride. Nevertheless, let every one of you love his wife as himself, and the wife reverence her husband. We wrote some things on the board about being faithful, and it says, what do you need from God? What do you need Him to be faithful to you? And we wrote some things. Salvation. You need God. You need salvation from God, the comfort, the peace, the joy, the grace, the direction, mercy, provision, hope, love, forgiveness, healing, deliverance, life, protection. What does God need from us to be faithful? He needs our obedience. He needs our faithfulness. He needs our love, our trust. He needs our honesty. He needs communication. He needs our commitment, our time, and our intimacy. And listen, when I wrote this on the board, I ended class and the Lord checked me and said, there are people in your class that need to know that I am faithful. I am faithful to them, my bride, with everything that you have listed here. So in this time where we're locked away from each other, we can't come congregate together, and we may think God is far away, but I'm going to pray with you just for a few seconds here to tell you at home that God says to remind you that He is faithful to you in all of these things, in the peace and the joy and the grace, the hope and the mercy, the love, the healing, the deliverance. Salvation is to you because He is faithful. So let me just pray with you real quick here, okay? God, Heavenly Father, Lord, I pray, God, for these that are locked at home, God, those that are maybe can't have communication with each other, the Lord, are just segregated, Lord, from each other, from family, from friends. But God, today they need to hear that you are faithful, God, that you are faithful with the love and the healing and the hope and the salvation and the deliverance, God, that you are there for them, Jesus. God, that in this world and the dark time that we are, God, we may forget that, but I am praying for those that are watching to tell them, and I'm telling you now, wherever you are, that God is faithful. He has not forgot you. He has not left you, but He is willing to give you the love, the salvation, everything that you need. If you submit to Him, He will give to you as your husbandman. He is faithful. God bless you, and hope you have a great day.